Morning guys, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School out here at the Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. What I thought I'd do today, I've had several requests to kind of show people around the outdoor kitchen and how it's kind of set up. I'm also down here today to make a few improvements. We'll talk about that as we go, and I'll just kind of show you the process. It's a pretty simple idea. But we built this pantry last weekend during a class. The camp master and the helper built this pantry, and we built this pantry so that, number one, we had a place to put dry goods like flour and spice and things like that were out of the weather and that animals couldn't get to. They don't bother the cast iron and things like that under here. But if you have food stuff out where raccoons and possums and things like that can get to them, they're going to be into them. So you've got a shelf on the bottom here where you can put things you don't have to worry about, like bottled goods and things like that. And then this door lifts up like this, and it actually has a hook up in the rafters. And this is where all of the spices and dry goods go for the outdoor kitchen. And then there's a shelf on top of that where we can put some things just on display, kind of make it look a little general store-ish in here. But this shelving unit was for that. Now, what I've done that I'm going to show you, I'm just going to leave this open, I guess, for right now. What I'm going to show you that I've done here is what I'm going to work on today. So underneath this pantry, we have a Yeti cooler and an Iceco refrigerator that we can run off solar-powered units like Anchor, Jackery, Bluetti. And we run this, not all the time, but we do run it during longer classes. And then we've got the Yeti cooler down here that I generally keep iced up most of the time to keep cool things in that I'm going to use during cooking videos, things like that. So one of the things that I did here was I put a couple of drawers in here. And all these is bus tubs for like bussing tables at restaurants. You can buy them off Amazon. And it gives me a place to put cooking utensils and things like that. Ones that I use all the time and ones that I don't use as much. So that they're out of the way, they're not sitting on shelves. And they're not just sitting on a bin in a shelf. They're kind of tucked away that way. And I'm going to put two more of these in on the opposite side with some bus tubs that I just got yesterday in the mail. I went and got the lumber this morning to put two more of these L-channel sets in here. We'll talk about that. It's a really simple concept. It just catches this lip so you don't have to have rollers and all that stuff in there. It's just a piece of lumber in there, and it works really, really well. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's take a look at a couple other pieces of the kitchen real quick. So above the pantry up here, we just have storage of food processing equipment and a couple of Discatas on the back here by Petromax. We have like a fruit juicer. This is what I used to make the fruit leather with. That's kind of a food mill for fruits and things like that. You can also use it for nuts, but it's mainly for soft things like fruits and vegetables. I have a meat grinder here, and I have another processor here that's a grain mill for things like grinding corn, grinding coffee, and those types of things. And they store right here on a 2x2 clamp down or hanging on a nail. Now back here in the back where the cooking section is, we have skillets are all hung up above on a 2x12 above a 3-burner cooker that we'll talk about in just a minute. Down here on the floor level, we have a garbage can. We have a 3-burner propane, like outfitter stove with a propane tank hooked up to it. And I just have a couple of grill tops of different kinds that I can use. With that, I have a grill and I have a griddle that I can use on top of these burners, depending on what I'm cooking or how big the pot is that I'm using. We generally keep a stock pot on one end of this that's full of bleach water that we can wash dishes and things like that in. This is a Dutch oven that I used last that I need to clean out, but right now it's just got oil in it, so it really doesn't matter. On the other side here, we just have a coal rack. So this is made to put live coals in to be able to cook with Dutch ovens and things like that. And I use just charcoal or I use small pieces of wood, make fires here and cook in Dutch ovens on racks or trivets and things like that. It makes it easy to cook in a sheltered area with a smaller fire that's easy to control, and that's what we use this for most of the time. Then we have a large Bayou burner underneath that, and that's basically what we use when we travel. If we are doing camps away from the classroom area and intermediate and advanced, then the camp cook or the camp master can take that with him in the back of a side-by-side to cook for the instructors out in the woods. Now on the back side back here, where I'm always standing in front of most of the time when I shoot these videos, is just a set of shelves that are set up mainly for cast iron stainless steel cookware. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 shelves. Most of them are taken up with cast iron or cookware. Some of them had some things on them that can go in drawers, and that's why we're putting the drawers in. Some of them had things on them that needed to go in a pantry. So we're set that up now. And then we'll be able to improve this and make it more for just cast iron and stainless steel cookware. And we try to store enough here for our classes. Generally, when we do cooking classes or butchering classes, it's 12 people maximum. We team them up in pairs of 2. So there's 6 Petromax Dutch ovens here stacked on 2 shelves. And so 2 people in a team gives us enough Dutch ovens that they can use a Dutch oven per team. And I've got 6 Stargazer cast iron skillets coming as well that will go with these, so that we'll have like components for each team, and then we'll have a horseshoe trivet for each one of these Dutch ovens to issue per team as well. On the bottom shelf, there'll be a full set of Pathfinder stainless steel, basically bush pot, large bush pot, skillet, rack, those types of things will be underneath, stored on the bottom, very bottom shelf, so that there's enough for, again, each team to have one full set for the cooking class. And then we've got some of our cookware and stuff is stored up in here that I use most of the time myself. And sometimes I just grab a Petromax and use that off the student shelf as well. So going up on the top up here, this is across from where the skillets are at. This is the top of our shelving unit where we store Dutch ovens and things like that. We've got a series of different coffee pots up there. I guess you could call it a collection of coffee pots if you want to. Everything from aluminum to something from like the early 19th century Civil War era, to copper, to new Petromaxes, cowboy coffee pots, things like that. And even, things like this one here is more of a Civil War era coffee pot right here. So it's just kind of a collection of coffee pots, but we do use at least a couple of them a lot of the time, depending on what we're doing out here and how many students are being taken care of. But we've got a Petromax stainless steel percolator coffee pot that we probably use 90% of the time down here at the outfitter camp. Now, another improvement from the weekend was this large wooden table. It's got 3 2x12s for the surface, and it's got heavy duty 2x12 legs on it with cross members made from 2x4s. Kind of a Viking style table that we set up down here. Good and sturdy. I mean, you could jump up and down this thing and you're not going to move it. We had that plastic folding Lifetime table down here, and it was beginning to sag in the middle from too much weight on it and things like that. This thing will never budge, and we can move it if we need to get it out here in the front area of the classroom. So when we're doing cooking demonstrations for classes, they'll be able to see it, and we'll have a workspace. Okay, guys, well, that gives you a pretty good overview of the outfitter's kitchen we've got set up out here and how things work and where we store things and how we store things. I'm going to make another set of these drawers right now in this pantry so that we've got more storage for cook utensils and things of that nature, and I'll show you and walk you through that, and then we'll just wrap it up for the day. Thanks, guys. Okay, so this is real easy. I picked up a really crappy 2x4 today, and I got it for free at the lumberyard because it's kind of an unsellable 2x4. So I just had them cut it in half for them. They gave it to me for free. I only need a 2x2 section off of this anyway. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to shove this board in here to measure basically the length I need this to be. And I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to take this side, put it in as well, figure out where my scrap is. All right, so I don't need that. And we're going to rip these both into 2x2s. That'll give us one set. Because remember, this side here is going in the trash. And then we got to do the same thing again to make a second set. So we'll just go in here and square up, measure in, go in here and square up, measure in. This is our scrap, and these get ripped. That will give us the lumber that we need to put these drawers in. Okay, so we're just going to use a DeWalt table saw here. Got it hooked up to an anchor right there for power. And this is the other side of the kitchen. And this is basically bunk space for the instructor that stays down here with the students. It's got a mattress in there, storage underneath, and we're going to be finishing this off more. It does have a curtain, but we're going to finish this inside more in the coming months to make this almost like a small one-man instructor cabin down here at the classroom area. So anyway, this is the deck that we're working on right now to get this drawer system done with this saw. All right, so we're just gonna take this ripping fence off for just a second and set it aside. And we're gonna raise our blade up enough to cut these down. And we'll just eyeball cut these. Give ourselves a little bit of power here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our rip fence back on here. Okay, now we're going to put the rip fence back on, and we're going to wheel that dude over. Unlock things here. And we're going to wheel that dude over so that we've got half of this board, because we're going to rip this off and basically make this a 1.5 by 1.5-ish board. All right, so now we're just going to adjust our rip fence to about half of this board, which is about 1 3/4. Maybe just a little less than that. About like that. All right, that should give us half and half. And then we'll just rip these down to get our 2x2s. Lock this in place. Turn this on. All right, so you can see here, I'm running a fan right here and this saw off that anchor unit over there, and it's working really, really well. So the next thing we want to do is we want to get this blade height right so that we can rip a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch shelf in these boards and get our highest tooth and drop down to 3/4. Call that good. Now we need to move our fence so that it matches that 3/4. What that's going to do is that's going to give us 3/4 in one direction, 3/4 in the other direction, and all we have to do is make 2 cuts. Boom, boom. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sit like this inside the pantry. So we're just going to take our drill and we're going to pre-drill so we don't split this wood out. One on each end, just like this. And one in the middle. All right, so now we'll just take a bucket of screws here and we'll go in from the top. We'll get these things seated well. So that's how it's going to go in. Now we'll go ahead and grab our marker here and we'll measure over from here, from the inside, 12.5 inches, and just a shade more to give us a little bit of room. And that's going to be the inside of our shelf right there. We do the same thing underneath. And we'll start from this side. Put this one in first. Then we'll line this one up on the back side. Drive him home. Now, if we did everything right, we should be able to take one of these bus tubs out of here. Brand new stuck together things. Slide him right in here. Just like that. Good tight fit. Makes a perfect drawer. Now we just start with this side, butt one up against that, and then measure over again. We got it licked. Good. All right, so when we're done, we got two nice tight drawers right there. Perfect for putting cook utensils in. Okay guys, well that just about gets it licked and gives you a little bit of a tour of the Pathfinder Outfitters kitchen as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just a quick little bit of hillbilly engineering there to put a couple drawers in underneath shelf space. An idea for you that's really cheap, really easy and simple to take care of, and it's very, very effective, and it will hold quite a bit of weight as long as you got a lip on that bus tub. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.